All right, 7.5, we're going to be performing operations with matrices. So we're going to be adding, subtracting them, multiplying them by a scalar, and multiplying matrices together. So first thing we're going to look at is adding or subtracting them. When adding or subtracting, the dimensions have to be the same. So we could only add a 3 by 2 together with a 3 by 2. We could not add a 2 by 3 with a 3 by 2. Since these are not the same, can't add them. So the dimensions have to be exactly the same. And then the way we add two matrices together is we just add the same spot in each matrix. So we add the corresponding entries. So it's just like the top left corner gets added with the top left corner. So you just add the numbers that are in the same spots together. So let's look at example 2 here. So what's the dimension of our first matrix in example A? This one here. What's the dimensions? 2 by 2. And then what about the second one? 2 by 2. So can we add them together? Yes. So we're going to add them together, and it's going to make the same size, a 2 by 2. So the number in row 1, column 1 gets added to the number in row 1, column 1. So what is -1 plus 1? 0. Then we move on to row 1, column 2. So our number here. So it's 2 plus 3? 5. Now we move on to the next spot. What's 0 plus -1?
-1.
Awesome. And then the last spot. 1 plus 2? 3. Alright, let's move on to B. Are these the same size? Same dimensions? Yep, so we can add them. So we just add the first spot with the first spot. What's 1 plus -1?
0.
0. What's our next number going to be?
0.
And then the third one?
0.
Awesome. So let's move on to C. What's the dimensions of matrix A? This one.
2 by 3.
2 rows and 3 columns, yep. And then what's the dimensions of matrix B? 2 by 2.
2.
Can we add these together? Nope. Can't add them. I think in WebAssign it says not possible is what you have to type in. You just can't add them. Alright, next we're going to be multiplying our matrices by a scalar. So whatever number it tells us we have to multiply by, we multiply every number in our matrix by that number. So here we have to find 3a, so we multiply every number by 3. So what would our new top row be? If we multiply everything by 3. What's 2 times 3?
6.
6. 6. And then 4 times 3?
12.
12. What's our second row going to be?
-9, 0, and 3.
-9, 0, and -3. And then what's our third row?
6, 3, and 6.
Awesome. Alright, next page. So here we have scalar multiplication and matrix subtraction. So we first want to multiply matrix A by 3 and then subtract that new matrix we have with matrix B. So we're multiplying everything here by 3. So what's our new matrix A going to be? What's the first row? Oh, we just did this one. What's the first row?
6, 6, 12.
6, 6, 12. What's the second row?
Negative 9, 0, negative 3.
And then the third row?
6, 3, 6.
Perfect. Now we're subtracting this with matrix B, which is 2, 0, 0. I'm just rewriting it here. And we subtract. So same thing we did with adding, just every corresponding part gets subtracted. So row 1, column 1 gets subtracted by row 1, column 1. So 6 minus 2 would be 4. Next we have 6 minus 0, which is 6. 12 minus 0 is 12. Next we move on to the second row. Negative 9 minus 1 is negative 10. 0 minus negative 4 would be what?
Negative 4.
If you have 0 minus negative 4.
4.
Positive 4. You got to be careful with your signs here. And then next we have 3 minus 3. Negative 3 minus 3 would be negative 6. And then now we move on to the third row. 6 minus negative 1, awesome, would be 7. 3 minus 3 is 0. And 6 minus 2 is 4. Any questions here? All right, in example 6, we are solving a matrix equation. First thing we want to do is solve for x in our equation. So what do we have to do to get this x all by itself? Got to move everything to the other side. So what should we move over?
A.
A. So how do we move the a to the other side of our equation?
Subtract A.
Subtract a. So we subtract a from both sides. So we get 3x is equal to b minus a. What do we have to do next?
A divided by 3.
Divide by 3. So we have x is equal to b minus a over 3. Now there's a couple ways we can do this. We can subtract matrix B minus matrix A and then divide our whole thing by 3. We could do matrix B divided by 3 and then subtract that by matrix A divided by 3. Or we could multiply by the scalar of 1/3, which is the same thing as dividing by 3. So different ways we can do this. I'm going to do it this way just because I think it's easier than dividing both of them by 3 and then maybe having to subtract fractions. So I'm just going to divide everything by 3 at the end after I subtract. So I have matrix B minus matrix A. So I'm going to rewrite it just so I have matrix B first. That way I don't get confused with the order that I need to subtract. So I have negative 3, 4, 2, and 1 minus matrix A, which is 1, negative 2, 0, 3. Are these matrices the same size?
Yeah.
Yep, so we can subtract them. So we have negative 3 minus 1, which is what?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. And then 4 minus negative 2.
Six.
Awesome. And then 2 minus 0. 2.
2.
And 1 minus 3.
Negative 2.
Negative 2. And then we just have to divide everything by 3 or multiply everything by 1/3. So negative 4 times 1/3 would be negative 4 over 3. What's 6 times 1/3?
2.
2. And then 2 times 1/3 would be 2/3. And negative 2 times 1/3 is negative 2/3. So this is x. So that's what we were trying to find. Next, we're going to be multiplying matrices together. So when multiplying matrices, it's a little bit different. We have to multiply. I'm going to walk you through it together just so we see. So first thing we need to do before we multiply is make sure our dimensions are okay to multiply. So we need the middle two numbers to be the same and the outside two numbers are going to be our result. So let's say we are multiplying a 3 by 2 times a 2 by 3. If these two numbers are the same, we can multiply, and our result is going to be a 3 by 3 matrix. So looking at example 7, what's the size of matrix A? What are the dimensions?
Two by 3.
How many rows do we have?
Oh, wait, no, 3 by 2.
A 3 by 2. And then what are the dimensions of matrix B?
2, 2.
A 2 by 2. So are the inside numbers the same?
Yes.
Yes. So we can multiply these together. And our result is going to be what?
3 by 2.
A 3 by 2. So our answer is going to be a 3 by 2. We're going to have 3 rows and 2 columns. So when multiplying two matrices, we have to start with the first row in our first matrix and the first column in our second matrix. We multiply the first number times the first number and then add the second number times the second number. So here we would multiply -1 times -3 plus 3 times -4. And since we are in the first row, first column, that number is going in the first row, first column spot. So what's -1 times -3? 3. And 3 times -4? -12. What's 3 minus 12? -9. Next, we're still in the first row, but now we're moving on to the second column. So that's going to go in the first row, second column spot. So we have -1 times 2 would be -2, plus 3 times 1 is 3. What's -2 plus 3? 1. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the second row, first column. So that's going to go in the second row, first column spot. So we have 4 times -3 would be -12, plus -2 times -4 is 8. What is -12 plus 8? -4. Now we move on to the second row, second column. So remember, the first number gets multiplied times the first number. So 4 times 2 is 8, plus -2 times 1 is -2. What's 8 minus 2?
6.
6. Now we move on to the third row, first column. So that's going to go in the third row, first column spot. So we have 5 times -3 would be -15. Plus 0 times -4 is 0. So this would just be -15. And then we can move on to the third row, second column. So we have 5 times 2 would be 10, and 0 times 1 is just 0. So a little bit more thinking goes into multiplying two matrices together, but still all you're doing is multiplying and adding and subtracting.
And then you just went down from there?
Right, so in your first matrix, you move in rows. In the second matrix, you move in columns. So we're just moving row by row by row, and this one we move column by column. And then each, like if we multiply the first row times the first column, that goes in the first row, first column spot. So it always helps just to draw your matrix so you know what number goes where and what size your matrix is going to be. All right, example 8. What's the size of our first matrix?
3 by 2.
3 by 2. No, how many rows do we have?
2 by 3.
A 2 by 3. And then what's the size of our second matrix?
3 by 3.
A 3 by 3. So are the inside numbers the same? Yes. So we can multiply these two together. Yes, Alex. Then we can't multiply it, so then it would just be not possible. So the inside numbers have to be the same in order for you to multiply them together. And then your result is going to be the outside two numbers. So our answer matrix is going to be a 2 by 3. So we're going to have 2 rows and 3 columns. 2 rows, 3 columns. So this is what our matrix is going to look like. Remember, in your first matrix, we move in rows. The second one, we move in columns. So we're going to start with the first row, first column, and that's going to go in the first row, first column spot. So here we have 1 times -2, which would be -2. 0 times 1 is 0. And 3 times -1 is -3. We got to add these together. So it's -2 plus 0 plus -3.
-5.
-5. So now we can move on to the first row, second column. So that's going to go in the first row, second column spot. So we have 1 times 4, which would be 4, plus 0 times 0 is 0, plus 3 times 1 is 3. So what's 4 plus 0 plus 3?
7.
7. What do we do next?
Third column.
First row, third column. What gets multiplied together first?
The 2 and the 1.
The 2 and the 1. So just remember, first number gets multiplied to the first number. So this would be 2. 0 times 0 is 0. And 3 times -1 is -3. What's 2 plus 0 minus 3?
-1.
-1. Where do we go next?
Now you're using the second row.
Now we move to the second row. So we have second row, first column. That's going to go in our second row, first column spot. What gets multiplied first?
2 and -2.
So 2 times -2 is -4. What's next? -1 times 1, which would be -1, and then -2 times -1 would be a +2. So it's 4 minus 1, -4 minus 1 plus 2.
-3.
-3. Where do we go next?
The second column.
So first row, second column. So what gets multiplied first?
4 and the 2.
4 and the 2, so that would give us 8. What's next?
-1 and 0.
-1 and 0 would be 0. And then what's last?
-2 and 1.
-2 and 1, so that would be -2. What's 8 plus 0 minus 2?
-6. I mean 6.
6. Alright, and then we have second row, third column. So that goes in our second row, third column spot. So what gets multiplied first?
2 and 2.
2 and 2. So first number times first number, 2 times 2 would be 4. Second number times the second number, -1 times 0 is 0. And what's the last thing we have to multiply?
-2 and -1.
-2 and -1, which would be +2. What's 4 plus 0 plus 2?
6.
6. Awesome. So this is our matrix.